We have come to the end of the second week of the Introduction to Project Management course. Before moving on to next week, let's recap the key areas that we explored this week. We have in some detail explored the first phase of the project lifecycle, which we refer to as initiation. We highlighted that this is often the shortest phase of the lifecycle, but arguably very important as it lays the foundation for your project. The foundation that is established can set your project up for success or failure. We emphasized the importance of setting objectives and determining project success criteria in this phase so that you have an overview of what you need to achieve in your project. Through the review of a couple of scenarios, we also noted that it may happen that you have not been in a position to select your own team members to work with you on the project. You are likely to have identified possible risks and the stakeholders you might engage with. The best way to understand this phase of the project is that you, as the project manager, gain a bird's eye view or a big picture view of what the project is before you begin to consider the available options to address the project outcomes. It's now time to turn our attention to the frequently asked questions for this week. The first question is on setting the project objectives. We have referenced the SMART acronym as a way to help setting clear objectives. What does SMART stand for and why do we use it? The acronym SMART stands for specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and time-bound. These are 5 dimensions that enable you to set clear and specific objectives that are challenging yet achievable, and set boundaries within which you can measure achievements. It is best practice to set small objectives so that all stakeholders are clear on what the stated project objectives are. The next question that is often get asked is, what is the difference between assumptions, dependencies, and constraints of a project? In project management, assumptions are factors that are either true, real, or certain that we'll need to consider in our forward planning with no proof of certainty, thus they may or may not eventuate. Assumptions affect the everyday phase of the project management lifecycle. Dependencies are relationships between specific tasks internal to the project. Thus, task B requires task A to be completed before task B can be started. Constraints are the restrictions or limitations that will affect the performance of a project. Constraints are most often related to not being able to change a set schedule or approved budget. The final question for this week is, I think I know what is required to undertake the project. Should I still be considering multiple options or approaches in the initiation phase? Shouldn't I just save time and start immediately? The simple answer is no. Even though we might think we know what to do, it is important to take time out to first consider the big picture. Use creative thinking techniques like brainstorming to challenge yourself to generate multiple solutions to dealing with the problems or challenges in delivering this project. It is costly and time-consuming to have to return to the drawing board later. Before moving ahead, ensure that you know as much as you can about your project and the quality of the available options to achieving the outcomes. To end off, let's take a minute to prepare you for next week's lessons. Week 3 is focusing on the planning phase of the project management lifecycle. This is crucial to achieving project outcomes and objectives. The key questions we will be answering next week are: how do you define the scope of the project? What planning needs to be done? What resources do I need? When does it need to be done by? And how much will it cost? See you next week.